I have no idea how I want to format this, so it'll be a work in progress, but here is the first episode of, let's call it, Lani's Library. Each week, I'll be sharing with you a book from my library, be it anime, cartoons, video games, film, or illustrators. I'll introduce what the book is, what kind of art is inside, what it's about, maybe, who are some major players involved, and then we'll jump in and flip through the book together. I'll also include a gallery of photos of particular designs, layouts, or storyboard sequences that I think are really appealing and worth looking at. So what is Jade Cocoon? It's an RPG monster breeding sim that released on PlayStation on December 3rd, 1998 in Japan. The game takes place in a world where thick, dense forests cover most of everything, and inhabited by strange and bizarre bug-like monsters called minions. The only place to be safe in this world is in small villages where we find our protagonist, Levant. As a cocoon master in training, it's his job to capture and purify minions, and once he has, you can have them fight for you, you can spin them into silk and sell them for money, and like any good breeding simulator, it can fuse different minions together to create newer, stronger, and more personalized monsters. But why is this game actually interesting? Why are we talking about it? Why is this art book considered a holy item of a sort in the animation world? Well, that's because Jade Cocoon and its sequel were designed solely by one man, Katsuya Kondo. Katsuya Kondo, as you'll instantly recognize when we take a look through the book, is a Ghibli veteran. He started as a key animator on Castle in the Sky in 1986, and since then has worked on key animation directing, and character design on almost every major film. He was known for the high quality of his work, and he quickly became responsible for some of the most magical and iconic sequences in Studio Ghibli's fabled history. So, let's go on and flip through Jade Cocoon. So, here it is, Katsuya Kondo's artworks for Jade Cocoon 1 and 2. So, background on how I got this book. For years, I've dreamed about this thing. I'd seen maybe a handful of photos years and years ago on Pinterest or something, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and the fact that I'd be miserable forever because I'd never get to see the inside of this thing. There are very few copies of this floating around at any given time, and it still runs about $400 US, which is much, much higher for me in Canadian. So I kind of moped about it for years, knowing I'd never see it. And there was a bookstore nearby my college, and I was subscribed to their weekly newsletter. And one morning I was checking my phone, and I saw inconspicuously that Wednesday at the very bottom of new arrivals, Katsuya Kondo artworks. My brain's fuse had been lit, and I thought madly, I have to get there as soon as possible before someone else finds out and gets there before me. So I stormed out of my earliest class that day, and I ran across the street, and I shuffled around the store wondering, God, how much is this thing gonna cost? Well, at least I'll have the chance to see what's inside and die happy. And I saw where they had put it on one of the shelves, and I saw that cover, and in the top corner on that little price tag it said $92, 92 Canadian dollars, and it took absolutely everything in my power not to freak the F out, and I plucked it from the shelf. I walked as calm as you could be to the counter and paid for it like I would any other regular book. And as soon as I got to my apartment complex, I yelled and I screamed, and I was so excited. And I think I locked myself in my room looking through my new precious book until I fell asleep. For those of you playing at home, that's roughly $70 US dollars. So, oh boy, did that bookstore make a mistake and not do their homework, and I benefited from that greatly. So, back to the game. What is so great about this, coming from a design standpoint, is that he deals a lot with muted color palettes in general. Like, the whole theme is that they're in forests and stuff, so they kind of have to blend in. But no matter who it is and what their clothing is, everyone has something a little different. There's always things that kind of make it through and have a continuity in everything and hold everything together, so it's not like 50 people wearing something completely different. There's a lot of stripes and swirls and furs that inform a lot of the clothing for the characters. These are the really cute little kind of minion mascots. That's so cute. That is together with the main character, Levant, on the cover of the book. What's great about this thing is that there are these big, beautiful kind of splashes and like huge designs that get to take up a whole page, and then there's a lot of smaller sketches with everything. This is showing kind of like the progression of minions. So there's usually, you know how it goes with monster stuff. There's a baby one, or like a normal one, a big one, a bigger one, and a biggest one. In this book, it's not just character design and it's not just monsters. There's actually a really great amount of world design and exploration and layout. All of these villages are built into the environment, whether they're in kind of plains or mountains or forests. And a lot of the design philosophy for the buildings, no matter what they are or how they're made, there's never really any like hard straight lines. There's always a roundness to everything, even like from a perimeter wall and fence to the design of the lookout towers and the conical kind of staircases and like just little platforms. Everything is a little bit round, a little bit angular, a little bit off. It makes everything feel very friendly and lived in. And a lot of the villages, at least in the drawings, feel really big, because none of the buildings are ever built over top of nature. It's all around nature, so everything's very spaced out. There's some interiors. Here we get into some prop design, which is always really fun. So it goes through the gamut of weapons, from, you know, hand blades and daggers to swords and axes, pole arms. There's a lot of great shape design in all of the weapons. Almost none of them are straight and angular. All of them feel very unique. There's all kinds of little hilt and guard designs that correlate maybe to certain minions and have like little totems on them. And it feels like if all of these were to be used, they would all have a completely different function. Like, none of them would ever be for the same job. Here's another village layout, and you can see like all the little people there. A great sense of scale. But it feels really open, like I was saying. And again, with dealing often with muted palettes in clothing and costume, and also in the world around them. Some more really nice building designs from other villages. The thing that's really impressive is that nothing ever feels like it gets lost or samey, or that you'll mistake someone for someone else. Everything feels and looks very unique. A few more interiors. there's a few thumbnails for, I think, some story sequences. And now we go outside and we see some of these forests, and they're all kind of different as far as you go. And they're so big, like if you maybe pause and look at Levant kind of going through all these different ones, it's awesome to see the scale of all these things. And how unique, like there's so many great little flora that are designed. Like ferns and brush, and I love those waterbogged cacti with the beautiful little flowers blooming. A lot of those trees remind me of stuff I saw in New Zealand. Very old world. Here's some great specific boards for, again, probably another sequence, being particular about color and light. That interior has 2 of these kind of spiraling glyphs of 2 dragons, and those are part of the kind of mythology of Jade Cocoon. I played part of it in the opening of this video, and you can find it online, and there's like actual VO with this guy talking about, you know, the creation myth basically and what went wrong. Here we go, now we're at monsters. So the monsters work like any other. There's a base one, and then it evolves, and then it evolves into a better one or a bigger one. And his designs for 2 are really just, everything is super unique. Have wonderful shapes. And he can stick a bunch of like angular elements together with rounder ones, and he just makes them sing. I love seeing in the sketches like the wonderful poses that he has them in, and he's so good at rotating them perfectly. I mean, that's your job as a designer and animator, but he just makes it look so effortless. And you can see with these designs, the whole thing of the minions is that all of them are kind of bug-like. So all of these designs, even if they're like coded as a boar, coded as a dragon, coded as, you know, a cat, there's always going to be some kind of element to it that's a little bit off, be it the eyes or the mouth or the tail, wings. This one's really cute. This one's progression is in color, but also in its function. So it starts out with those little kind of pincers, and then it becomes more elongated and ends up its arms reverting into like big, like pangolin anteater feet, and it can roll around. See here with this bird, it's a big beautiful bird, and it has like a big green kind of bug eye. There's the event there for scale. So it's pretty big. This one's great. It's like big skinny pterodactyl with giant teeth. These designs for the first game are so creative and so unique, and all of them are doing something new in such an extreme way that all of them are just delightful and just so fun. You want to see every single one of these things move and what they sound like. You can just look at any one of these drawings and you can instantly see it moving in your head. which is, I think, the mark of very good design. This one's like a horseshoe crab. You can see with the minions, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but even the minions are like coded as danger. None of them are very bright in color. Well, I say that, but not bright. Like a poison dart frog or like a wrasse or something. Even when they're colorful, they're again these very muted color palettes. Everything is fighting to stand out and be its own thing, but at the same time, it doesn't ever feel like a competition. So here are the big guys, round 3. And if you saw that person for a scale, none of these monsters, except for a few maybe later, get really like ridiculously big. But they're so cool, like petrified stick monster. Why not? That's so cool. So yeah, a lot of these will change color, change shape, and try and do something different with its motifs in each one. Those are shown really well in the second game, although the first one has better designs in general. There, see, like here we have a big hydra, and it's coming towards the event, but still it's not huge. That's so cute. He's so good at picking things and committing. There's like an armored goat kangaroo thing. Like, it's really easy to think a bunch of random stuff and mush them together and see if it works or not. 90% of the time it's terrible garbage, and you think, why did I ever commit that to screen or to page? And then sometimes you'll end up with something like, oh, that's kind of cool, that's neat, it feels original. But he makes throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks look like the joke that it is. I love that standing pose. It's very old school Disney in a way. I love this one. A little nautilus with mantis eyes. A cuttlefish. There we go, we finally have a chameleon. Surprisingly, not many chameleons, and I think one turtle. Now we get into some of the crazy ones, so like the stage 4 monsters or bosses. That one's really wild. And a lot of these at this point, as you'll see here and in game 2, this is a perfect example. A lot of them like start to have skeletal themes in the designs, like exposed rib cages and like just ribs and spines sticking out. It's really funny. And another thing that I like, even when the designs get really extreme and aggressive, is that none of them are really pointy. Like all of that one is very alien and kind of like tokusatsu in a way. But all of the claws, all of the teeth, all of the horns, all of the you know, like spikes on the tails or whatever. They're not sharp. They're kind of round and a little bit dulled. This is showing some of the sketches and stuff for the glyphs for the opening sequence of the game. All of those murals and glyphs that it's kind of panning around. And these are the boards that he did for that opening sequence. They're very beautiful and simple. They give you all the info you need. There's a little bit of color. I know I'm showing a few of these out of order. But yeah, this is some of my favorite kind of boarding. Not oversimplified. Not over animated, I should say. Yeah, so we saw some of this stuff as I ran part of the opening. Oh, I didn't remember to check. I can't remember if Ghibli actually helped make the opening or not. But and there we go, we can see some of the cells, the stills from the thing, which you'll recognize a bunch of those. And there's the end of them. And then of course we have like a very extensive interview with Katsuya Kondo where he talks, I'm sure, about his history, what he does, working through his concept stuff. And I don't know Japanese, I can't read Japanese, so I'll never be able to experience it. Like with most other books, I will remedy that one day. Now we move on to Jade Cocoon 2, which was the sequel. The sequel was not very well received. A lot of people hold the first game very near and dear to their hearts, and it had a lot of unique charm to it, and by all accounts, the second had almost none of that. The core cast is much bigger. They're kind of like pseudo minions, and they're all kind of working together to restore balance and harmony. And as you can see, a lot of them have different, you know, like elements or types of magic or whatever that are a part of them. Which is really cute. Like, these designs are great. There's good 3-point poses and really nice expressions and poses. I love those middle ones really nicely. And I guess part of what makes the second one interesting in a way is being able to juggle such a huge cast and keep them all consistent and different. But yeah, aren't those great? And this is the like cartographer, the kind of, it's a great design. The kind of harmony yin yang that all of the characters wear, have the little bug eyes in each one, which I really like. It's so cute. What a great drawing. So here's a few more of the characters, girls and boys, and they all have much different shapes. I think it's more shape based design than the first one. I guess out of necessity, because there's just so many of these kids. But you can see why his art was considered the epitome of Ghibli's character design. His work was really important. They're just sweet. They're nice designs. There we go. We're run out of kids. And this is one of the best designs in both games. Isn't that such a good time? As far as like wacky old men characters in a fantasy go, that's really up there. What a great drawing. It gives me like very tiny bit Okami vibes of Mr. Orange. Just from the swirl on the top of his head. Yeah, a lot of the kind of adult designs seem much more ceremonial than the main characters, especially all these kids. Here's more of the mascot minions. That's such a nice drawing. So cute. And those wings are really nice. Oh, here's some more girls. Just when you think there aren't any more. She looks a little bit like a Yu-Gi-Oh character. Here we go. Here's some different mask designs. All of them kind of, I think, based on different minions. Yeah. They're really fun. He doesn't ever feel like he's being repetitive. And when he recycles things, he does it very economically. These are a bunch of sketches of the characters. He makes them look so loose, but so instructional. Yeah, I do wish that art books for anime especially had these more. And if they were older, which you'll probably see at some point, a lot of the books have like a few pieces of visual art, key art, and then just some design work that's shrunk down so small you need a microscope, and it just kind of breaks your heart. Especially if there was a lot of great design in that thing that they never put in a book. Again, here are a lot of kind of world design things, temples, shrines. And then we get to the monsters that are new to Jade Cocoon too. Now, in my opinion, I don't think they're as strong as the first. On a whole, each ones are definitely more thematic. There's a lot of prehistoric imagery, dinosaur imagery. Like there's specific things that are being done in the second ones. That's so cute though, isn't it? There's the bomber. There's the plane with the propeller. And then, wouldn't you love to see that move? And then there's the jet with the twin engine. But yeah, some of them like hit high, some of them are okay. I don't think you could ever consider anything in this book a bad drawing or a bad design. They're just not as good or as fun as the others. There's not quite as much life in some of these than in the first game. It does show a lot more of the forms of these. I think some of them go up to 4. Which you'll see, obviously. I never got to play either of these games because I didn't own a console until I bought a PS2 at the very end of the cycle. I love that Nudie Branch one. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play any of these firsthand. I don't particularly have strong knowledge for either one. But there are playthroughs online that you can watch through. It's really funny to see all of this like beautiful, like very specific style art kind of superimposed on like late 90s character models. It's kind of funny. I always sigh because wouldn't it be amazing if Jade Cocoon had a full remaster, and all of it was done in the style of Ni no Kuni and Breath of the Wild? Don't you already feel sad that that isn't real? If any game deserved it, it would be this. That one's wild. And also some of the like final models are like based in kind of tokusatsu and kaiju kind of stereotypical archetypes, I should say. Like some of these are wonderful. Like the giant axolotl turning into a big butch. I think of the big butches, I like that one the most. But yeah, you'll see a lot of the times from one to the other, they'll change colors. There's Luffy. Here we go, we have our second kind of chameleon. The eyes just keep getting bigger. That's a beautiful design though. They did the shape of the 3-horned, well, Jackson's chameleon. And the maul for the tongue. They're just really fun, aren't they? Angry crawfish becoming angrier designs are always a good time. Some of these are just like, okay, I'm a cobra and I'm also a predator. The little eye on that one is great. Like, I don't even know what that's supposed to be, but it's fine. I really like this one. I think it's one of the only kind of turtles. And it kind of ends up becoming a Triceratops. Isn't that cute? That is very Ghibli. It's very Ni no Kuni-esque. What a wonderful design. And there's some fungus. And then we have another night to go with our crawfish. And then there's just a big guy. This is another one of my favorite, like, design things ever. There's the big guy of the petrified, spiny plant from game 1. See, so now it goes into 3. I'm not entirely sure how the system works for Jade Cocoon, because you can fuse different monsters together, but I imagine you can only do certain ones with certain ones, because just having total freedom in 1998 in an RPG monster simulator just seems like too much. That's wild. I really like these pages. So this is the pig boar one. So it's a little bit similar, if not exactly the one that we saw on the first page of monsters for the first game. And it just gets big. This one's kind of fun. Always like when mantis eyes get put on stuff. The shield is really nice with the spikes. A cute little pine cone. It turns into a magic fairy. There aren't too many coded designs. There's only like 3 quote-unquote girl monsters in this, I think. These goblins are really cute. I love them. Those, the way that they do some of the hands in this game, like they also have for the mascot ones with the kind of like big stubby fingers and the tiny nails. I really love those. There's another biggest guy. And then of course the big skull monster. Very cute. Biggest. And then we have 1. We have 2. And 3. Like just some of the progression is so charming. Cute little Totoro mouse. That's such a great drawing. I really like this line. It kind of turns into angry cat. It gets angrier. And then the angriest. With tiny little arms. I love those kinds of designs. But yeah, all of these monsters stay relatively muted in color. I also love when the top half of the head is separated. That's so fun. That's great. I love this page because it's kind of coded. It's the only one that's wearing anything, any jewelry. So it's wearing some earrings, and basically this design screams, "Please don't steal my OC." Right? Yeah, there we go. There's a lot that I really like in the second game, but it's not the tour de force of 1 in my opinion, in my personal opinion. But yeah, people really didn't like the second game. They did not like it. So the last part of this is basically promotional stuff that he did for the games, including really nice watercolor comics and some promotional art, posters, splash art. There's a lot of comics though. I think most of them span the first game or are in the setting of the first game. There's our main characters there from 1. There's Levant. And it's fun because in the comics, like, oh, I can recognize those monsters now. I particularly love that panel. Whoosh! And there goes its tongue. Perfectly good PG material. I'm just skipping through these, but you get the idea. They're very beautiful. And I wish I could read all of them. Almost there. There's the cover. And that's it. That is episode 1 of Lani's Library as we look at Katsuya Kondo artworks, aka the art for Jade Cocoon 1 and 2. Below this video, I'm going to be posting my master itinerary for all of my art books in my library, and you're going to be deciding somehow which book you would like me to flip through next. I'll also be posting under this video a photo gallery of all kinds of art from Jade Cocoon for you to download and enjoy and look at however you want. I don't know quite how I'll keep doing this, but I do know that I want to keep sharing books with you and art with you that we can all enjoy and learn from and gush about together. So until then, I will see you Monday with a new book.